Welcome to the deep dive. Today our mission is to unpack a really wild, um, just a fascinating personal account from a guy named Osman.
Yeah, he's known online as the blind Muslim yogi.
Right. Exactly, yeah. He's an energy healer, a yoga and meditation teacher, and, well, he's the entrepreneur behind yogawellness786.com.
Right. And Osman is a really interesting figure because his entire philosophy is it's focused on merging the latest modern scientific discoveries with these ancient arts and sciences.
Yeah, he doesn't see those two worlds as mutually exclusive at all,
No, not in the slightest. I mean, he views health through this deeply integrated holistic lens.
which is so refreshing. And today we are going to explore his claims, these purported wide-ranging health benefits of a single, surprisingly cheap trace mineral.
Selenium.
Right, selenium. I was first looking at this material, it really made me think about walking along a riverbed.
Oh, how so?
Well, you can step on 100 dull, gray, muddy rocks, right? And you don't think twice about a single one of them. They're literally just background noise.
Sure, just ordinary rocks.
But then someone comes along, picks one up, cracks it open with a hammer, and inside is this brilliant, shimmering amethyst geode.
Ah, I like that.
Right. That's really how Osman views trace minerals. I mean, we tend to ignore them in favor of the big, flashy macronutrients.
Yeah, the proteins, the carbs, whatever the trendy superfood of the month is.
Exactly. But sometimes there's this incredible hidden power just beneath the surface of the most ordinary-looking things.
That is actually a highly accurate way to visualize the role of trace minerals in our biological landscape. But before we get into the specifics of Osman's claims,
And they are wild claims, by the way.
they are quite remarkable, yes. But we have to establish a vital piece of housekeeping first.
Oh, right, the disclaimer.
Yes. This is a crucial disclaimer that Osman himself is very quick to point out, and we need to echo it loudly and clearly right now. The natural remedies, the lifestyle changes, and the supplements we're discussing today are meant to complement, never replace, professional medical treatment.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have a medical condition, you must see a qualified, licensed medical professional.
100%. I mean, this is a discussion about supportive care and, personal exploration. It is not a substitute for your doctor's orders.
Right. We are strictly exploring one man's reported experiences and the theories he holds about them.
And those experiences include some incredibly intense anecdotal claims. I mean, we're talking about an HIV survivor's 19-year turnaround, a reversed case of neuropathy, and a mother's remarkably swift recovery from a stroke.
It is quite the spectrum of ailments for sure.
It really is. And the way this whole journey starts for Osman is just, well, it's so grounded.
Yeah, it wasn't some grand revelation.
No, because he didn't discover his passion for selenium while fasting on a mountaintop or deep in a meditative trance. It happened during a totally mundane, everyday chat.
Right. He was in his home country of South Africa visiting a close friend.
Who happened to be a pharmacist, right?
Exactly. Just a casual conversation behind the pharmacy counter. But then this American visitor walks in.
And this guy wasn't there to pick up a standard prescription, was he?
No, not at all. This individual was on a singular, very driven mission. He was traveling around basically visiting local pharmacies, trying to get booked on radio shows and talk shows.
Wow, just locally.
Yeah, all to evangelize about selenium.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the personal testimony this visitor drops on them is, I mean, it's staggering.
It really is.
He claimed to be HIV positive. Right? And he stated that his condition had actually progressed to severe AIDS-related illnesses.
Right, which means we are talking about a stage where the immune system is fundamentally collapsing.
Exactly. But his claim was that after he started consuming selenium, he experienced this tremendous immune-boosting effect.
Yeah, to the point where he told Osman that he had been living completely AIDS-free for 19 years at that point.
19 years. He even pulled out a photograph of himself with President Bill Clinton to try and validate his timeline and his story.
Now, what's fascinating here is how belief spreads, right? Because if we look at this strictly from a clinical, evidence-based perspective,
It's a massive leap.
a massive leap, an anecdotal claim from a stranger in a pharmacy about reversing a severe viral collapse with a single trace mineral. In the scientific community, you would need long-term, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials to even begin to entertain that kind of mechanism.
I had to admit, my immediate reaction when reading that was heavy skepticism.
Which is completely natural.
Right. I mean, to leap from an over-the-counter supplement to overhauling a collapsing immune system against a virus like HIV, that just sounds way too simple to be true. How does someone even arrive at that conclusion?
Well, let's look at the underlying biology of what trace minerals actually do. That helps explain the theory behind these kinds of claims, even if, we aren't endorsing the specific medical outcome.
Okay, lay it out for us.
So, selenium plays a critical role in the body's antioxidant defense system. It's a key component of certain enzymes like glutathione peroxidase.
Glutathione peroxidase.
Okay, right. And these enzymes basically act as the body's internal rust-proofers. When an immune system is under severe attack from a virus, the oxidative stress on the cells is immense.
Like the cells are literally breaking down from the exhaust of fighting the virus.
Exactly. So the theory, and again, this is the functional theory, not a verified clinical cure, is that if a body is severely deficient in a foundational tool needed to manage that cellular damage, providing that tool might suddenly allow the immune system to kick back into gear.
Oh, I see. So it's less about the selenium actively, like, fighting the virus itself,
Right.
and more about it handing the immune system the microscopic equipment it needs to stop drowning in its own cellular exhaust.
That is a very good way to interpret Osman's perspective on it. But, it's not just the biological theory that matters here, it's the mechanics of human narrative.
What do you mean?
Well, human beings aren't wired to consume peer-reviewed journals. We are wired for story. The sheer absolute conviction of this American visitor standing there with a photo of a former U.S. president claiming this mineral saved his life is incredibly potent.
Yeah, you can't just unhear a story delivered with that level of life or death intensity. It's like someone handing you a treasure map while you're standing in the aisle next to the cough syrup.
Exactly. It makes an impact.
Even if you don't fully believe it, it sparks an intense curiosity. And for Osman, that conversation didn't just fade away, it altered his whole perspective.
But of course, hearing a wild survival story from a stranger is one thing.
Right. Actually, taking that substance, testing it against your own failing biology is an entirely different level of commitment.
Which naturally brings us to Osman's personal health struggles because he has a history of diabetes.
Yeah. And as a complication of that, he was suffering from early-stage mild neuropathy.
And neuropathy is essentially nerve damage.
Right. It usually presents as tingling, chronic pain, or numbness, particularly in the extremities like your hands and feet.
Yes, and from a conventional medical standpoint, it can be incredibly frustrating to treat.
Because the damage is already done.
Basically, the chronic high blood sugar associated with diabetes essentially damages the delicate capillary walls that supply blood to your nerves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And once those nerves are starved and damaged, the medical focus is often just on managing the pain and slowing the progression. Reversing nerve damage is notoriously difficult.
So Osman is dealing with this painful reality. And to be clear, he wasn't ignoring his doctors.
No, not at all.
He was doing everything right by the conventional book. He was strictly following his doctor's prescriptions, taking his medications, and adhering to all the recommended lifestyle habits.
But that conversation in the pharmacy is still echoing in his head, right?
Exactly. So he decides to run an experiment on himself. He adds selenium to his daily regimen.
And he commits to this for 6 months.
Right. And according to his own account, after 6 months of daily use, his mild neuropathy completely reversed. The symptoms just vanished.
He does include a very important caveat in his account, though. He notes that he did experience another mild attack of neuropathy about 10 years later.
Which I'm really glad you brought up because it grounds the story.
It does.
It shows we aren't talking about some magical permanent cure that edits your DNA and deletes the disease forever. It's an ongoing management tool.
Right.
But I have to push back here for a second. Because Osman was actively taking his prescribed diabetes medications and following his doctor's lifestyle advice at the exact same time.
Yes, he was.
So how can he possibly separate the medical treatment's success from the selenium's impact? Structurally, if you're doing both, you can never truly prove the selenium did the heavy lifting. I mean, it could have just been the medication finally doing its job.
And that is the absolute classic problem with anecdotal evidence and confounding variables. A clinical trial's entire purpose is to isolate the variable.
Right, to see what actually worked.
Exactly, but real life is messy. However, if we look at this through Osman's specific philosophical lens, that bridge between modern science and ancient arts, the need to isolate the variable actually misses his entire point.
Wait, really? How do you justify the results without isolating the cause?
Because his approach isn't about setting up a battle between modern medicine and natural supplementation to see which one, wins.
Oh, I see.
He doesn't care about giving sole credit to one or the other. It's about synergy. In his view, the modern medical prescriptions were doing exactly what they are designed to do.
Which is managing the systemic blood sugar levels.
Right, putting out the immediate biological fire. But the selenium, in his theory, was providing specific, targeted nutritional support to repair the nerves themselves.
Ah, okay. So if modern medicine is the fire department showing up to put out the acute flames of a house fire, which is the blood sugar crisis, selenium is like the microscopic rebar you add to the concrete when you rebuild the foundation,
I love that analogy.
so the structure doesn't collapse again.
Precisely. They are teammates executing entirely different functions. The doctor patches the immediate vulnerability, while the trace mineral provides the raw materials the body needs to execute its own long-term repairs.
That makes a lot of sense.
It perfectly aligns with his philosophy. It's not either or, it's yes and.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's talk about the logistics of this supplement.
The dosage.
Yeah, because if selenium is acting as this powerful structural rebar for our cells, you'd think it would be front and center in every health magazine, commanding a massive price tag.
You would think so.
But it's not.
Ah.
And that might have to do with the dosage Osman recommends. He explicitly calls for a very low dose, just 50 micrograms a day.
Which is tiny. To contextualize that, standard nutritional science defines trace minerals as elements we need in very minute quantities, but those quantities are absolutely essential for physiological function.
So they aren't fuel, like carbohydrates where you need large volumes to burn for energy?
No, not at all. They are catalysts. You just need a tiny spark to start the engine.
But Osman points out that it's actually quite difficult to find doses that low in a standard pharmacy.
Yeah, usually when you find selenium on the shelf, it's sold in 100 or 200 microgram tablets.
Right. You'd likely have to split pills just to hit his recommended 50 microgram mark.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what the other wild detail is?
The price.
Yes. He notes that a bottle of 100 tablets is incredibly cheap.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it brings up a fascinating point about consumer psychology in the wellness industry.
Oh, definitely.
We have been deeply conditioned by marketing to believe that price correlates directly with efficacy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if someone is dealing with chronic nerve pain and they walk into a high-end wellness boutique, they want the $80 bottle with the gold foil label.
Because we assume that if it's expensive, it must be a powerful healing agent.
And if something costs a few dollars and is sitting on the bottom shelf of a generic pharmacy?
We subconsciously dismiss it. We assume it can't possibly do anything profound.
But Osman challenges this entire economic model. He likens this to a hidden truth. He theorizes that selenium remains affordable simply because the general public is mostly unaware of its systemic effects.
It's just flying under the radar.
It's like a secret menu item at a fast food restaurant. You walk in, ignore the big flashing neon signs for the expensive combo meals, and ask for this highly specific, unadvertised item.
It's cheap precisely because the masses don't know to ask for it.
Right. Osman genuinely believes that if the public fully grasped what this trace mineral could do, the price would skyrocket overnight.
And his belief in that secret menu item was about to be put to the ultimate, most stressful test imaginable.
Yeah, this part of his account is tough.
Because it's one thing to experiment on your own mild neuropathy over 6 months, right? It's an entirely different reality when a severe, acute, life-threatening crisis hits your family.
Yeah, the narrative makes a hard shift here from managing a slow, chronic condition to dealing with sudden, devastating trauma. Osman shares a deeply tragic event.
His younger brother.
Yes. His younger brother passed away suddenly at the age of 39, left behind a 6-year-old child.
Unbelievably sad.
And this brother had lived with their mother his entire life. You can only imagine the depth of that shock and grief for her.
His mother was in her 60s at the time, correct?
Yes, in her 60s. And she was absolutely overcome by the emotional trauma of burying her youngest son.
And we need to look at the physiology of grief here to understand what happens next. Because immense, acute emotional stress doesn't just make you sad.
It physically changes you.
Right. It triggers a massive biological cascade. The body floods with cortisol and adrenaline, which severely spikes blood pressure and induces systemic inflammation.
So suddenly the vascular system is under incredible immediate strain.
Which is tragically what manifested. Amidst this intense grief, his mother suffered a mild stroke on her right side.
Yeah. And she was a teacher by trade. Because of the stroke, she lost motor control in her right hand. It simply dropped.
She couldn't hold a piece of chalk.
No. So now, layered on top of the profound emotional agony of losing her 39-year-old son, her literal livelihood is threatened. She cannot write. She cannot teach.
The physical breakdown is just completely entangled with the emotional collapse.
It really is. It's the terrifying reality of the mind-body connection. An emotional collapse directly precipitating a vascular collapse in the brain.
So how did the family handle it?
Well, they immediately took action. And again, Osman's approach here is highly instructive for anyone interested in alternative wellness.
Because they didn't rely solely on natural remedies.
Exactly. They did not bypass the emergency room to try and fix a stroke with meditation and herbs. They went straight to the doctor.
Good.
They followed all the recommended conventional medical treatments for a vascular brain injury. But alongside that acute medical care, Osman introduced selenium into his mother's daily routine.
This is where I have to admit, as someone who analyzes clinical data, I struggle a bit with the narrative.
The timeline.
Yeah, looking at the sheer speed of his mother's stroke recovery, it's very difficult to map that to a standard nutritional timeline.
Because according to his account, within days, she started to feel better.
Right.
She regained the function in her right hand. She could write again.
And usually neuroplasticity and vascular repair after a stroke takes significant time. We're talking intense physical therapy and careful medical management over months or years.
Right. To see motor function return in days seems incredibly fast for just adding a vitamin pill to the mix. How does his philosophy even explain that mechanism?
Well, Osman would argue that we are looking at an extreme deficit. If a body undergoes a massive ischemic event, like a stroke, the localized cellular damage and the resulting inflammation in the brain are immense.
So the brain is basically on fire.
Yes. Now, the conventional medicine stabilizes the patient, ensuring blood flow returns and another clot doesn't form. But Osman is looking at the cellular cleanup. The theory is that her body was desperate for the specific antioxidant tools required to clear the necrotic debris and calm the acute inflammation around the nerves.
So by introducing selenium immediately, he believes he provided the exact missing blueprint the body needed to fast-track its own natural repair sequence.
The rebar and the concrete again?
Exactly. And the longevity of this result is what really cements the belief for Osman. He notes that today, his mother is nearing 80 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, that puts her roughly 10 to 15 years post-stroke, and she remains healthy with no relapses. The intervention held.
And that detail highlights the recurring theme we've seen across all of his anecdotes. The selenium was introduced alongside conventional life-saving treatment.
It acted as a supportive nutritional scaffold.
Right. It was never a rogue alternative to neurology or endocrinology.
So what does this all mean for you, listening to this deep dive?
We've covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have. We moved from a chance encounter with an HIV survivor in a South African pharmacy to the management of diabetic nerve damage, all the way to the acute recovery from a stroke triggered by profound grief.
It's a lot to process.
I think the most responsible thing we can do is reiterate that these stories from Osman are purely anecdotal. We aren't looking at double-blind clinical trials here.
No, we are looking at one man's observational reality.
But even as anecdotes, they serve as a powerful, necessary reminder to stay insanely curious about your own health.
Absolutely.
It shows the immense value of exploring affordable, complementary approaches. It's about keeping an open mind to the ways ancient wellness perspectives, the fundamental idea that the human body possesses a miraculous capacity to heal itself if given the exact right microscopic tools, can sit side by side with modern life-saving medicine.
You don't have to choose between the doctor's office and the natural world. They can be part of the exact same toolkit.
Perfectly said.
And if we connect all these disparate dots, it leaves us with an incredibly profound question. I want you to consider the sheer variety of the conditions we discussed today.
They are wildly different.
Exactly. If a single dirt-cheap trace mineral is anecdotally credited with having such a systemic impact across entirely different bodily crises, from a viral immune collapse to diabetic nerve degradation to a vascular brain injury, what does that suggest about the hidden interconnectedness of our biology?
That's a fascinating angle. It implies these aren't isolated failures.
Right. It suggests that our immune system, our nervous system, and our vascular system might all rely on the exact same foundational microscopic building blocks to maintain their integrity under stress.
Wow.
And if that's true, what other cheap secrets might be hiding right in front of us on pharmacy shelves? What other tiny, unglamorous trace minerals are just waiting for the right combination of modern scientific understanding and ancient curiosity to unlock their full potential?
It definitely makes you want to look a little closer at the world around you, to stop ignoring the background noise. Because the next time you are walking along that riverbed and you see a dull, gray, ordinary-looking rock, well, you might just want to pick it up. You never know what kind of geode is hiding inside waiting to change everything.